Welcome to FNL Overtime on YouTube. I'm Scott Sable, along with Jack Leto, and some wild games tonight. Let's start off with some of the playoff games we didn't get to that we have scores of right now.
Yeah, let's head to those scores. 1A, 2A, Class A, and 8-man, all with playoff games. And of all the scores that stand out, West Branch with the big win under a first-year head coach, 41-33 over Sigma
That's
Kyoto.
a tough place to play.
A tough place.
It's a dark stadium. They wear dark uniforms. They run that spinner back, and it's tough to defend, but an impressive win on the road for West Branch tonight. So I'll say the same thing with Regina. That was an impressive win. It was close early, and they pulled away for the 32-21 win.
Another first-year head coach.
Yeah, and how about Mid-Prairie?
They've been solid all year.
Yeah,
a little under the radar in 2A, but they've been solid. And a tough season, obviously, for Union.
And Alburnett gave MFL Marmac all they could handle tonight.
That's a wild game because Marmac was in the Union Dome last year, lost a lot. Marmac got a chance to go back. They're kind of building themselves into something where deep in the playoff, those runs are kind of expected.
All right, let's take a look at some other scores that were not playoff games. This is the final game of the regular season for these teams here. And, of course, the one that stands out right away is Benton Community shutting out Williamsburg tonight. An impressive win by the Bobcats.
Very impressed. They've kind of turned into giant killers. Benton, not the most talented team in that class, but they are very much able to win those grinded out games.
Yeah, that's the thing. They're built for the playoffs, playing tough defense, running the football. If it's bad weather, they can withstand that.
Plenty of notes here. Obviously, Benton with the win over Williamsburg wins that district. Waterloo West and Ottumwa going down to the wire. The winner of that game would go to the playoffs, and West makes it. Big note with Dubuque Wahlert, 49-6. They clinch an undefeated regular season.
Yeah, they've been good all year long, man. That's so impressive. I watched them in a scrimmage earlier against Xavier, and they've got quite the quarterback-wide receiver combo, but obviously they can play defense too.
They can. All six of those teams, by the way, winning, and we will see them next week in the playoffs.
All right, let's take a look at some highlights now from the night and the game you were at. One of the big upsets of the night, City High knocking off previously undefeated Bettendorf, 42-23.
Yeah, this is not quite. There we go. We've got the right video there. Mitch Moore with his seniors there on senior night. Yes, you call this an upset because Bettendorf, of course, #1 in the RPI, but Bettendorf's been a little shaky, and I don't mean that in a pejorative way.
1 point went over Prairie last week.
This is a great team, but there are a lot of great teams in this class. I think City High was kind of knocking on the door of an upset like this. They just made more plays than Bettendorf, and I think the thing that's been surprising me, at least surprised me about City High, and I'm going to apologize to the City High fans who maybe they've been saying this for 9 straight weeks, but they've got a bunch of guys who can play the skill positions. I was not expecting Dawson Call, the sophomore, to have as good of a game as he did.
He's a big dude for a sophomore and very talented.
This touchdown here from Parker Sutherland needed all 6'6", 224 pounds. The City High team is peaking at just the right time. You said that in the show. They could obviously play defense. I wouldn't say they shut down Bettendorf, but they did against Bettendorf what not a lot of teams have done. I think they're very balanced too. I think most importantly, senior quarterback who knows how to win. Bobby Bacon.
Yeah,
that's huge.
I wouldn't want to play him in the playoffs. We'll see how it goes down. But you talked about the parity in that class. Pretty much anybody can beat anybody on a given night now.
Yeah, and those Central Iowa teams, they're obviously talented, but talent isn't everything in the playoffs.
Well, they've been a lot better than the Eastern Iowa teams. That's not the case this year. It's a pretty even playing field.
Yeah, I think it's really any team can beat any team. It's just who's going to lock down in the playoffs. A lot of these Eastern Iowa teams don't necessarily have the same experience that the Central Iowa teams do, but they're close. They're getting closer in talent. That talent gap is closing.
All right, let's take a look at another game, Lisbon and Starmont, the game I was at. Lisbon last year ran the table during the regular season, then it got upset in the playoffs. Was not going to happen tonight. They beat Starmont 49-0, and they jumped on them right away. Special teams, defense, they did it all. Very balanced attack, throwing the football and running tonight. And, man, did they get after it on defense. These next 2 plays you'll see coming up here after that scary guy. The fumble, and right away, the little guy, Boots, gobbles it up and races into the end zone. And then they really get after the quarterback here, and he's throwing the football, and he just can't. They hit him right when he throws the ball. lineman's dream to score a touchdown. So Lisbon advances with the 49-0 shutout. Like I said before, if you can play defense, you can advance in the playoffs, and they played defense all night long. So I like their chances moving on. I think they're ready this year. I don't think they were ready for the playoffs last year.
I agree with you. I think that's a really talented team. You don't see teams necessarily that fast in that class, but Lisbon's got a lot of track guys. They got a lot of 100-meter champions,
wrestlers,
a lot of
everything.
wrestling.
Yeah.
They're physical, and I love the way they're able to get off the line, because that sack isn't just about strength and speed. It's about
And that was
instincts.
everybody coming.
Yeah,
I mean,
that was everybody. I wouldn't want to see.
Yeah, that was the whole team. Another big come-from-behind win tonight. Anamosa against Wakan. Anamosa trailed this game 32-12 at the half. John Campbell was at this game. He thought there's no way Anamosa is coming back. He was wrong. Anamosa comes back for the 46-40 win. They scored 34 points in the second half and come back and win.
If this is the game that Anamosa plays in the playoffs where they just take a step back, because so far they've not had a lot of mistakes. If they had a bunch of mistakes in the first half
They did.
and they got them
Saw
all
them
out
right
of their
there.
system,
Yeah.
that is scary for the rest of Iowa. Anamosa plays such a physical game, and I was not expecting them to give up the 40-point. I think if they're...
Well, I think there was a lot of nerves involved. and Wakan, they've been in the playoffs a lot, even though the record wasn't as good this year.
They've got the experience.
Yeah, and I just think there was a lot of nerves from Anamosa. They took a deep breath, and then they played like they were capable of playing.
If you were to tell an Anamosa fan before the game would end 46-40, I don't
wouldn't
know
like
how
that.
confident they would be.
They wouldn't like
but
that.
you know what it shows you? It shows you that even in a shootout, Anamosa can still win. I don't think that's the way they want to play. I think they want to run the ball with Austin Scranton and play really good defense like they have all regular season. But knowing that they can win a high-scoring
I just
game
think
is impressive.
they'll won't be as nervous the next game.
Yeah.
So they'll have a good chance to win the next game. Let's talk about Waco and Central City 8-man football. Central City had played Waco early in the year. Waco won that first game. They were fairly confident they could beat them this time, but Waco just brought it to them on the ground right away. Jumped out to the lead. Central City came back. Matthew Klosterman, who's had an amazing season, our reigning athlete of the week. He's done this all year. Look at him breaking tackles. Had over 2,300 yards this year, and he showed a little bit extra tonight. He could throw the football too, because they were keying on him, so he's able to throw the football and pick up some big yards here, and then he set up the touchdown. They actually took the lead after this with the 2-point conversion, but the rest pretty much was all Waco as they advanced with a 39-16 win. They're used to the playoffs too, and they came out and just took it to Central City. But a great year for Central City. Fun team to cover, and they'll be back.
Yeah, they are. Waco, just too big, too fast. But what a year for Central City, and Klosterman, that's a guy that he'll be remembered in those hallways and in that small school for a long, long time. And I know you cover them a lot. They are a classic example of a fun 8-man team in which the school isn't all that big, but the fans are so passionate.
And the roster's not that big.
Yeah.
But Matthew broke his brother Aiden's record for touchdowns. He had 33 coming in to this one, so an impressive year for Central City and Matthew Klosterman. Let's head to the doubleheader tonight at Kingston Stadium. The Chelsea covered. It started actually last night. Wash and Ankeny got called early in the first quarter, and they got home. Ankeny did about 1:30 in the morning. Had to go to school this morning for a couple hours, then get back on the bus by noon to get back to Cedar Rapids and Kingston Stadium for the first game of a doubleheader against Wash. And you'd think they would be tired, but besides that fumble, they were not tired. They played a really good football game tonight, and they shut out Wash 56-0.
Ankeny is just a playoff-ready team.
Always.
They are just coming in ready, and Wash is.
And they had to win this
talent.
game actually to get in the playoffs, Ankeny. So this was a game that
I
really
stand corrected. Thank you.
Yeah, it really kept them focused that they had to win to get in the playoffs, and they got it done. And they'll be a playoff team. And all those Des Moines schools, like I said, a lot of parity there this year. It's not one dominant team, just like in Eastern Iowa. So this is going to be interesting in Class 5A. In the second game of the doubleheader, hats off to Jeff, playing a really good Liberty team, a playoff team. And this was a shootout early. Jeff kept up with them. At one point, this game was 28-27, which I was surprised to see because I know how good Liberty is and how explosive they are. But check out these plays here. Watch this One-handed grab.
This Jeff team and Wash as
That's
well.
the next play coming up. He has a one-handed grab, yeah.
Yeah, both fan bases aren't happy about the way it kind of drew out, especially because the last game of the regular season, it doesn't get much harder than playing a Central Iowa team and playing Liberty as well. But I think both teams have a lot to be happy about for the future of their team, because a couple years ago, this would not be as Jeff would not be in this game as
They would
long
not-
as
not
it had.
even
This
close.
game, 70-33 is the final score. The game was a lot closer.
Well, and the thing with Jeff is they knew if they won this game, they were going to be in the playoffs. So they came out focused and ready to play despite being big underdogs. And I think the future continues to be bright for the Jefferson Jayhawks under Coach Ed Miles.
I think so too. And Liberty, who we didn't really talk about much, we have to double check on this RPI, which isn't quite out yet. But because Liberty wins and Bettendorf loses, I think it gives Liberty a slightly better than 50-50 shot of being number one in the RPI, which doesn't mean that much. They were going to host the playoff game anyway.
It doesn't mean as much this year because everyone is so comparable and there's so much parity. Next week, it's all playoffs. And we'll see you then.
Yep.